parents were immigrants.
His father passed away when he was very young, 1 or 2 years old. His mother and his aunt, who was Moshe Sherer's mother, were two almanas.
They were very ehrlich, very frum, but he went to public school like most others in that generation.
He raised such a magnificent family. The home was special, always simcha.
I know he was known as Mike Tress to the whole world, but we always called him Uncle Elimelech.
He was a successful businessman. He used the opportunity to hire Jewish girls so they would have a job where they wouldn't have to work on Shabbos.
In 1937, Rav Elchanan Wasserman came to the United States to raise funds for his yeshiva. During his stay, he had a profound influence on the young Agudas Yisrael leader Mike Tress. Reb Elchanan urged Mike Tress to abandon his business career and devote himself full-time to helping Klal Yisrael. Before returning to Europe, Reb Elchanan's parting words to Mr. Tress were, "The future of Torah in America is in your hands." Mike Tress devoted himself fully to the Klal. He launched Shmira Shabbos campaigns, supported newly established yeshivos and Beis Yaakovs, organized Pirchei and Benos groups, and opened the first frum summer camps for Jewish children.
He helped start the Agudas Yisrael, which was on 616 Bedford Avenue. I davened there many, many times with him. He was revered by tzaddikim, Rosh Hashivas, Askonim, everyone.
Mike Tress, when it came to Adam Gadol, he was all kair b'mshtachim, tremendous derech eretz.
As president of the Agudas Yisrael, he was building foundations for Yiddishkeit here in America, which preceded his rescue work.
As the darkening clouds of war approached, Mike Tress established a refugee and immigration division to procure life-saving affidavits for Jews desperately seeking to leave Europe.
He was once a man of great wealth, gave it all up to help people.
Not only did he give up his business, he went full-time into his klal work, but then as he needed money for the klal work, he sold his stocks, he mortgaged his home 3 times.
Es hat gefallen, ein gewaltiger Pachet, jedem Gesicht wegen die Tanzleute, wie sich zu Rat wegen, man hat schon gewusst, mit wie es schmeckt. Man hat geschickt ein Telegramm, zu wem hat man geschickt ein Telegramm, hat Kashem Nummer nicht gewiss, kann Amerika, ein Nummer hat man gewiss. Der Nummer hat geheißen, Rabbi Melech Tress. Und ungefähr von 800 Bechiren, die 800 Bechiren, mit mir nur bekannt, 2, ganzen 2, wo sind geblieben, sind nicht gerettet wird geworden.
As the Holocaust commenced, Mike Tress was one of the first in the United States to receive notice regarding the scope of the massacres taking place in Europe.
He got a telegram in September 1942 that 100,000 Jews had been massacred. Beginning on Tisha B'Av, 265,000 Jews were deported to Treblinka, where 99 and 99/100ths of them were killed upon arrival. Nobody told him that piece of data, that this was a systematic killing, structural, ongoing. He was able to feel in his bones the Jews were in danger, and we have to do something, anything, to save these Jews.
He tirelessly lobbied government officials in his mission to save lives, and even traveled to Washington on Shabbos. His Hatzalah activities benefited thousands of Jews, including some of the most preeminent Torah giants of the day.
With the assistance of Agudas Yisrael, my father was on a list of distinguished Rabbanim who were permitted to come to the United States.
Mike Tress had to overcome apathy, had to overcome indifference, had to overcome people who did not believe the situation was as dire as he described it. He was considered an alarmist.
He saw rescue as a holy mission.
He gave it day and night, and I think we should say not 24/6, but 24/7.
Auf der See weit, als Reb Melech Gabriel hat mir einmal gesagt, hat gedacht, Dingen sagt mit Rebaren, soll ihm losen kommen, darf mit Armenien. Hat ihm gesagt, ist Porter von Davon mit Armenien. Soll Anton
Tfiln in Stub, sagen, krieg mich mein Essen und gehen weiter auf der Zollarbeit. Hat gekrogen einen Schuss bei ihm, kommen verbrauchen und neu ist dann nicht Tfiln gleich noch bestille ich mein Essen. Mehr hat mir nicht gegeben einen Schuss.
After the United States joined the war, many young Jewish men were drafted into the army. Mike Tress corresponded with many of those Jewish servicemen. He sent them kosher food and helped procure their release from active duty on Shabbos. In 1945, the Nazi Reich was defeated and the arduous task to rebuild began.
I walked into the first barracks that I came upon, and of course that was a scene that I will never forget. I mean, they were starved, emaciated. They looked down at me out of those eyes that were haunted.
Each day was a battle to survive after the war.
We were so hungry. Whatever we found, we put in our mouth. And we got sick.
The camp was full of typhoid and TB.
I could not return to my family because I had none left.
Mike Tress immediately began sending spiritual and material aid to the survivors in the displaced person camps in Europe, and was among the first to travel to those camps and witnessed firsthand the survivors' needs.
He took ads. It said, looking for a cousin, a survivor in this camp or that camp, please contact Michael Tress in the Aguda.
In the spiritual rebuilding of the Sheos HaPleiter, I would say, if not for them, I just can't imagine. They were the Agudat Israel of America, under the leadership of the legendary Mike Tress. He came to the American zone of Germany in December 1945. He came with a uniform of the American Army. Mr. Tress, I remember very interestingly, refused to be a guest in one of the hotels which the UNRWA provided for its workers. He insisted on sleeping in the same primitive bunks in order to feel like a suffering Jew.
It was known that he gave away his tefillin and he gave away everything there. He came back with nothing. When he came off the plane, my father wasn't even wearing socks.
We were in awe of this man, total awe of this man. And we were young, we were kids, so we didn't even know all the stories of his going at that time to the DP camps and so on that we read later. But we just knew that this was one man who's changing the world as we knew it.
He helped facilitate their immigration to the United States, finding them jobs and homes in their new country. In 1948, Mike Tress established the Save a Child Foundation to rescue Jewish children from Christian homes and institutions where they had been hidden during the war. As the American Jewish community grew, Mr. Tress's efforts on behalf of Klal Yisrael continued and intensified.
Whether it was Chinuch Atzmai, was the creation of the Beis Yaakov, was the Aguda, the Pirchei, the Siri, and the Shatnez Laboratory started with him.
He didn't know a difference of a chassid or a misnagid, or it meant nothing to him. He was colorblind.
He's really an American hero.
There
was no such thing as no. We're just, okay, how do we get it done?
He had a very special neshama, there's nothing to talk about.
And what his legacy to me is, every Yid's problem is your problem. You can't look away from another Yid's problem.
Food didn't mean anything to him, sleep didn't mean anything to him, Gashmis didn't mean anything to him. His objective in this world was to help people.
Moshe Sherer once told me, I was working with him in Yerushalayim, your father felt everybody's problem was his problem. He said that's why he died as young as he did.
Mike Tress loved helping people, that was the bottom line. He loved Torah, he loved Gedolim, and he loved Chesed. You have a combination like that, it's a can't miss.
When I think about the standard that he set for all of us, whether within Agudas Yisrael or outside of Agudas Yisrael, in terms of our advocacy, our shtadlonis, and the work that we do for Klal Yisrael, to pinch ourselves and say what we're doing is urgent work. It's work that has to be done. We must approach it with a sense of the future of the community depends upon the success of our work. From time to time I need that reminder, as we all do, but when I think about Mr. Tress, that's really what inspires me more than anything else.